So just want to kick it off, say thank you all for joining. Like I said, if you were on a little bit earlier, this is the Beyond CPQ webinar. We're going to talk about optimizing cash flow and payments, all on Salesforce. And your hosts here are going to be the Salesforce team and the PhiX team as well. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'll just talk through who we have. So I am Kevin Maresco, so I'll be your sort of host today. I'm a revenue commerce specialist here at Salesforce. I've been with Salesforce for 4.5 years, all in the revenue cloud space on the enterprise side of the house, covering New York, Texas, and New England. I got about 12 years of experience in the quote to cash space. Prior to this I spent some time at Zora. Prior to Zora, spent time at Oracle. Yeah, and so been really focusing on quote to cash and lead to cash, really, and helping customers figure out what the best practices are and what's out there to solve for some challenges and provide a unified architecture to ultimately focus your time and resources on your products so you can get quotes out the door quickly, bill for those customers, and get the information you need down to your financial system. And so with us, we have the PhiX team as well. PhiX is one of our top partners for all of revenue commerce. Been in the business for a while as well. Some super experienced resources here, and they're going to be walking you through the demo portion of this. So we'll kick it over to Justin. Justin, you want to do a quick intro?
Thanks, Kevin. So hi, my name's Justin Wheatley, and I'm Director of Lead to Ledger at PhiX. My background is 16 years within the ecosystem, but 10 of those I was working for I was working as a customer in a senior finance role, where I went through multiple different implementations of CPQ, billing, and ERP. My past 6 years has been as a consultant, and I've been helping customers avoid the pitfalls that I went through when I was a customer, but also advising them on best practices and streamlining. I was employee number 1 at PhiX, and my role here is to drive successful lead to ledger projects. With that, I will pass over to my dear colleague, Bish.
Thank you, Justin. Hey, everyone. My name is Bishwendra, but call me Bish. That's easy. I look after solutions and innovation here at PhiX, and I've been advising customers, organizations of all sizes operating across different industries through their lead to ledger, quote to cash, card to cash, however you want to call it, transformations for more than a decade. I also sit on the partner advisory board for Salesforce Revenue Cloud, where I work with the Salesforce product management team and guiding the roadmap and the Salesforce Revenue Cloud products and solutions. With that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Kevin.
Perfect. And so I'm just going to hit up an agenda, just show you real quick what we're going to talk through today. And just so everybody knows, we know it's midweek. We're going to record this session. We'll provide you with the recording after this, and feel free to share, amongst your teams here. But what we're going to do is I'll just do a quick introduction of the topic, right? What do we mean by Beyond CPQ, and why are we talking about this today? Then the PhiX team is just going to talk about the different options available. Post CPQ, what else is out there to solve for some of these common quote to cash challenges? And then after we discuss that, we'll hop into the demo itself and then just walk you through. Once you are able to generate that quote, what else can you do, or what else does Salesforce have to offer to streamline those processes to get that information into the financial system? So I'll highlight billing, collections, different things like that are available that people might not know exist on the Salesforce platform. And so we'll wrap up. We'll try and leave some time at the end for some Q&A, and then feel free with any questions or anything like that. If you didn't get a chance to ask it, you can email us directly, and we'll make sure we get those answered for you. So in the essence of time here, so what do we mean by Beyond CPQ? Why are we talking about this? And so if you look here, when the PhiX team and I were talking about this year and what are people interested in and what are we hearing from the market and from our customers is, CPQ's been in the market for a while. A lot of companies have addressed or are in the process of addressing or have selected a solution to address quote common quoting challenges, right? How do I configure what I'm trying to sell? What are different options available? And what are the different types of charge models out there? Usage, one-time, recurring, bundles, and how do I empower and make the process for my employees, the quoting process, easier so they can get quotes out the door quickly. We understand we're sending the right quotes to the right customers and different things like that. And so we've noticed that, Salesforce has about 7,000 CPQ customers, right? So a lot of people have adopted that solution, but that doesn't mean the problem has been solved when it comes to quote to cash, right? There's there's things downstream that also need to be solved to make sure what you're quoting matches what your invoice shows, what you're billing, what your AR looks like, where you're doing collections, where you're doing payments. How do I get that information into the ERP so the finance team can close the books quicker, can not have to go back to the sales team and really dive deep into what was sold, at what price, and why. We're trying to provide a streamlined architecture that connects your front-end quoting system down to ERP. But what we noticed is once you solve for the quoting challenges, we were getting a lot of questions as to what do we do next and why, right? And if you look at the screen here, we noticed that architectures become this spider web, a lot of disparate systems, right? You might bill out of a point solution. You might bill out of the ERP. You might do payments out of a different solution. You might do payments in the ERP, right? There might be reporting and dashboards, third-party system that tries to ingest that financial data and then present that. And then you got to tile those systems back to Salesforce so you can run your forecasts, your dashboards, your reports to make those actionable insights into your business. And it becomes a really, really hard architecture to maintain. When you talk about upgrades and different things like that for different platforms, updates, and you mess with the system up front, break something downstream. You mess with something downstream, break something up front. And you're constantly in this perpetual integration project, and it gets hard to manage. And the goal is to not focus your time and resources on these back-end internal processes. We want you to be focusing on proactive outreach to your customers, getting more customers on board, being more creative with how you're offering your solutions. And to do that, you got to make sure that your front-end systems talk to your back-end systems. And so what we noticed is a lot of people don't know that Salesforce has a very flexible billing option that sits in between your CRM and your CPQ solution and your ERP that is super flexible as to where it can fit within your architecture to solve for your unique needs and alleviate all of these different integrations and different touch points to provide you a streamlined architecture to pass that clean data downstream into your ERP so you can do your financial tasks and then get that reports back up to your marketing and operations team to then take that actionable insights into action. And so that's what we're going to show you today. We're going to show you, okay, I have my quoting solution. I've sent the quote out to the customer. That quote is executed. What is out there? What do I do next? What problems can I solve next with the Salesforce platform? And you can do that with Salesforce billing. And so we'll show you, you tell us, hey, we want you to take it as far as RevRec. We can. You say, hey, you know what? I like to do collections, AR, payments in my ERP, and my financial team is comfortable working there. Great, you can work there. And then if you say, hey, we just want to use you as an invoicing system and do invoicing to make sure that what I'm quoting matches what I'm billing, you can do that as well. So we're going to talk about the flexibility of the tool, and we're going to talk about where you can fit that within your architecture, and then we'll show you how that works to alleviate this spider web and provide you that unified architecture. So I know that's a lot, but that's the reason why we're having and introducing this topic today. And so I'll kick it to Bish to just introduce sort of where we're going to go from a demo standpoint and elaborate a little bit deeper into what I just mentioned, and then we'll get into the demo itself.
Thanks for that, Kevin. First of all, I'm excited to introduce PhiX Technologies to you all. At PhiX, we focus on simplifying and accelerating those lead-to-ledger transformation, offering a suite of tailored services to meet our customers' needs, ranging from advisory to managed services. And we have strategically partnered with a variety of ISVs that you can see on the slide here to help our customers automate their lead-to-ledger processes and modernize their revenue operations. We are also proud to be recognized as a Salesforce-approved billing partner, which is a testament to our expertise and commitment to delivering innovative billing and payment solutions to our customers. Our certified team is spread across North America, the UK, Europe, and India, providing our customers a global perspective on projects. And with that, I'll hand it over to my partner in crime today, Justin, who's going to walk us through different ways of bridging the gap between CRM and ERP through Salesforce billing, and also give us a demo of the same. Justin, take it away.
Thank you, Bish. So as Kevin has already mentioned earlier, there are a number of different ways that you can utilize Salesforce from a billing perspective. So we all understand, we all know Salesforce CPQ, and that takes us up to a quote and also creating a contract and subscriptions and assets. But what can also happen is the order can be passed over to billing. So Kevin mentioned earlier, if you just want to use Salesforce as a billing tool, you can do so. We can go order to billing, which is where we generate the billing events, but then we pass them off over into a different system, whether that be Oracle NetSuite, whether that just be a point billing solution, or whether you actually do your billing directly from within your ERP. We can go one step further than that. So we can do order to invoice. So it's generating the order and it's creating that invoice record as well and distributing that invoice record directly to your customers. And that could either be through a community portal or it could be via email. What we're going to focus on today is we're going to go order to payment. And this is pretty much what we're going to be doing is moving the customer touch points into Salesforce. So we're going to be running we'll call it an AR subledger. We're going to be running that directly through Salesforce. So we're going to go order to invoice, invoice to payment, and then we can start to actually run our accounts receivable activities within Salesforce. So we can do our dunning and collections. And that's what today's demo is going to be focused on. The last part that Kevin mentioned as well is about order to recognition. So Salesforce actually can do your revenue recognition for you. So it can create all of those revenue transactions. And again, all of this can be passed off into your system of choice, that ERP that you're using for your financials. So just a bit of background on the demo that we're going to deliver today. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of personas that we're going to be working with, and also a fictitious company that we are going to be selling from. So the company is called PhiX Technologies, and they have experienced rapid growth over the last couple of years. They're a SaaS company selling software as a service. And the problem they've got is rapid growth in sales has led to issues in the back office. So what's happening within this demo? PhiX Technologies have reached out, they've investigated the market, they already have CPQ, so the next logical step for them is to go for Salesforce billing. So we are going to follow the journey from Sean Joseph, our sales agent from PhiX Technologies. We're not going to go through the quoting process because I think everyone probably understands the quoting process. We're not going to go through that. So Sean's going to send a quote over to Olivia. Olivia is going to accept that quote and she's going to choose her payment method. So again, we're going to be talking about flexibility to offer multiple different payment methods. The next persona I'll then jump into is going to be Emily. So Emily is our credit controller, and we're going to see what her day-to-day activities are like. And then finally, we'll finish off from Luca. So Luca's going to have that helicopter view from a company perspective and really wants to see the details of the business. Hopefully that all made sense to you. So as it says on the slide, now it's showcase time. So here we go. This is Sean. He's our sales AE. Like I said, he's already created the quote, which he's going to send out to Emily for signature. So let's just send this. So my email has been sent successfully. So this quote's already been, okay, so this email's been sent out to Olivia. And Olivia is our buyer from One Mayors Industries. So this is Olivia. She's just going to dive into her inbox. Here we can see that Sean Joseph has sent her the email. So she's just going to open the email. She can see the quote is for $43,800. We have a link to the quote. But what we're going to do now is Olivia is going to go in and she's going to add in her payment methods. So we can see here what's being offered to Olivia today is she can pay by card, she can pay by cash, or she can choose to put in her bank details.
Justin, are there options to easily accommodate other payment methods that we are not seeing here? Like, for example, due to expansion, an organization might have a need to add other payment methods to support their expansion in the regions that are currently not listed here. Could you elaborate on that flexibility that we could offer?
Absolutely. Yes. So what we're using here is we're using what I call a payment aggregator. So it's one of our partners that we work very closely with. And what they do is they give you the ability to connect to multiple payment service providers. So when I say payment service provider, that could be a Stripe. It could be someone like Go Cardless. So they take care of all of that, all of those intricacies. So all we do is we connect to this payment service aggregator. As we start to grow the business and work in different geographies, we can then start to apply different payment service providers, which we can offer out to different regions.
Thanks for that, Justin.
You're welcome. Okay, so as part of the demo, Olivia is going to choose her bank account. So I'm just going to click on bank account here. Now, as we're in a test mode, I'm not actually going to go and put in some real details because I'm not sure who's on the call who might take my details after and run off and go using Amazon. So what I'm going to do at the moment is just use a test institution. And this is already set up from Stripe. So I don't have to worry about putting bank details in. But this is where we would add in our bank details. So I'm just going to connect this account. Okay, so that's all now done. So from a customer perspective, I've accepted the quote. I've now put in my details. I can go off and fulfill my other roles. Now, Sean has had the quote accepted. He can now go off and start working on other opportunities as well. So what we're going to switch to now is we've done Sean. Sean sent the quote. Olivia's put in her bank details. She's happy with that. We're going to focus now on Emily. Now, Emily is our senior credit controller. So I'm just going to hop into Salesforce and just give a refresh. So this is my home screen. So I'm Emily working from my home screen. So this is marked as been accepted. So Olivia has already put in her bank details. I'm just going to update this to accepted, which will then mark it as ordered. Okay, so this has now been ordered. I'm now going to come back into where Emily is working from, and I'm going to go back to my home screen. And here we go. So I have my order. And I'm just going to look at this order. So I know for a fact that Mayors Technologies, they need PO numbers. So I'm going to add in the PO number, which is 245652. If I clicked on it, 245652, and we're going to add in our PO date as today. So I'm going to hit save. I can see that my payment terms are net 30, which I'm happy with. And I just want to make sure that the shipping address and the billing address are correct. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my order amount and ensure that the tax value is correct, which it is. So what would happen now is this would go off to the provisioning team. The provisioning team would provision the licenses and the services for the customer. And once they were happy with it, they would mark it as activated. So let's just mark it as activated now. So by marking the order as activated, what that's going to do now is that's going to create our invoice. I'm just going to contract it as well because I want to have my contract with my subscriptions. Okay, and we can see I have a contract. Now, what I'm going to focus on now, I'm going to go into the invoice. Now, the invoice will be in an unposted state. So if there are any issues with it, I can make small amendments at this point. I can see that my PO number has come on. I can see the PO date. I can see my billing contact is Jenny Rosen. And I'm just double checking, and the subtotal and the VAT look perfect to me. We have no messages, tax error messages to look out for. So everything is fine on this invoice. So what I'm going to do from a credit controller perspective, what would normally happen is there would be an invoice schedule, and that invoice schedule would run and pick up every single order that's ready for invoicing. It would create the invoices, and you can choose to have them posted or you can post them manually. So what I'm doing here, I'm just posting this manually. Okay, and what this is doing is it's committing it to the ledger. So we are making any ledger entries that we need to, but also we're now making it so that the invoice is locked down completely. So no changes can happen to this invoice. If I need to do something, I'll need to go through a credit and rebill. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward to 30 days in the future. So this invoice, this customer invoice is signed up for ACH because they've put in their bank details. So I'm just going to mimic a ACH, so a payment run. So what I'm going to do now is just create a payment schedule. Sorry, let's do this way. Okay, and what this is doing is it's selecting my run date as today. My selection and collection dates are set in the future. So because the invoice is dated the 27th of March, I want to go and collect this invoice now. So I'm setting it to the 30th of April. Now, the payment method I've selected is ACH. My payment processor is Stripe, and the target is going to be PhiX Technologies.
Justin, for global organizations, right, with multiple legal entities, how do we ensure that the collected payment is routed to the right associated bank account of that legal entity and all the payments are associated to that legal entity?
Okay, so that's fairly simple, Bish. With the service provider that we're using, you can set up multiple targets. And the target is basically the bank account or the legal entity where we want to distribute those funds. So imagine, like you say, you've got a global entity and you want to distribute US dollars into a US dollar account. You want to offer an EMEA bank account for your customers in EMEA. What we would do, we would just set up multiple targets. So each target would be linked to a legal entity, and dependent what legal entity sold the deal, it would all be matched up. So every time we produce an invoice, the invoice would be linked to a legal entity and the payment method would be linked to that invoice. So like I said, we can choose multiple different payment methods and we can have multiple different targets. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Justin. And I'm assuming because of the power of the platform, we are able to automate all of this so that none of it has to be manually selected based on where the invoices are generated from and where the money needs to go.
Exactly. So Bish, there would be a one-time setup, and that one-time setup, you would go and set up all of your payment schedules. So you'd set up the payment method, the target, and you would then schedule them, and they would just run automatically on the dates that you decide or the dates that your company would like them to run.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin.
Okay, so I'm just now going to save this payment schedule, and I'm going to kick off this payment schedule run. So what I'm doing now is I'm now starting the generation. What we spoke about a minute ago, Bish, what's happening in the background is this job is looking for all of the invoices that are associated to PhiX Technologies. The invoice has to be unpaid, and also the invoice must have a balance. The last thing, the invoice, the account must have a payment method of ACH. So this is going through looking for every single customer who's set up as ACH with an invoice that is due up until the 30th. Okay, so what that's done now, it is now validating. So shortly, what I'll do is I will skip over to the related tab. What the credit controller can do is they can keep an eye on this job, and if they've got any worries or concerns, they can click validate. And this shows that everything behind the scenes has been successful. Okay, we can see that this job has picked up my invoice. This is the invoice that we've just created. This is invoice 3 for Mayors Industries. Sean sent off the quote. Olivia signed the quote. Olivia then put in her bank details to say she wants to pay by ACH. Then we've had Emily come through, check the order, make sure the order's good. She's then generated the invoice, and now she has kicked off the payment process, right? The payment run. So as you might be able to tell, I'm filling there slightly because the process has taken a little bit longer than I expected. But what we should now see, what we can see is the invoice when we looked at it was unpaid. So we can see that the status is pending. If we give it a quick refresh now, what should have happened is it will go off to Stripe. Stripe will do all of its collections, collect the money, paste them into the bank. We'll then update this process. We will then create a payment record and we'll also allocate that payment record. I'll just give it another refresh.
So we're seeing this for an automated payment method like ACH or its counterpart in Europe could be SEPA.
Yes.
So as we know, about 60 to 70% of the global organizations, right, on an average, prefer to be in control of their money. So rather than signing up for these digital payment methods that automatically go and take money from their bank account, they like to be in charge and transfer money manually, right, into the, to pay the invoices. How do we handle those 60 to 70% of those payments in a more automated manner using this process? Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, no problem. So Bish, as you mentioned, not every customer wants to sign up, or not every business wants to sign up to have the money debited directly from their bank account. And you tend to find that unless you're a utilities company or a kind of B2C business where you're offering subscriptions, it can be pretty difficult to get everybody to sign up with that. As part of what we've set up here and what we're going to be demoing today is we've actually got a number of customers and a number of invoices where the customers will actually want to pay by direct debit, not direct debit, by bank transfer. So I've just set up a little report here. I've just got these 5 invoices. Now these 5 invoices are outstanding, and these 5 invoices are from customers who want to be in control. So what your bank does is you can connect to your bank, and your bank creates specific files that we can actually ingest into Salesforce. We can create payments and then do the allocations. So let me give you a little demo of that. So I'm just going to post my payment file. So basically I'm now mimicking what would happen between the banks. So an API would pass over this file into Salesforce. Salesforce would ingest it. So I'm just going to upload it. Okay. So what this is doing is uploading the bank statement into Salesforce. Okay, so there is the file that's gone in. Now, again, in the background, there's going to be a process, and this process is going to be looking at that bank statement, and it's going to create in Salesforce what is called a transaction set. And as part of that transaction set, it's going to break out all of the different invoice payments, and they're going to be broken out into what we call transactions. Now, again, this is going to be an automated process, so it can happen first thing in the morning at 1 minute past midnight. And then by the time the credit controller comes in the morning, that job would have run and all the invoices would be posted. So because it's not happening overnight, I am just going to pop into what's called Processing Hub Manager, and I'm going to see the status of this job at the moment. So this is the job that's gone in. And as I mentioned, Salesforce or the bank will send certain files. The file we're looking at is a CAMT54. So I just want to make sure that we get down to this section so that I can then pass on, show you the rest of the demo. So what's happening at the moment is the file is being ingested, the file is being looked at. It's then breaking out those different transactions into payments, and it's also allocating those payments against those invoices. So once we get down to this stage cleaned up, which we are, I can now go and show you exactly what's happened. On this one, I'm just going to go back into my transaction sets here. And let's have a look at this one. Okay, and this is the latest. So it's been posted today at 8:35 in the morning. So if I go into this transaction set, now I can see that there's 5 of 5 matched. So if I go into the related this, so basically this is the header of my bank statement. And if I go into the related, I can see the transactions that are related to each of those bank statements. Now, as I showed you on the report earlier, and I'll come back to that. So I'll just go into this transaction. From the transaction, I can navigate to the invoice and go into this invoice. You can see that my invoice now has a 0 balance, and I've received a payment of $1,200, and I have a payment, a payment allocation against that invoice. So I'm just going to go
What
back.
happens? What would have happened, Justin, if there was an underpayment? So instead of getting 1,200 transferred, to PhiX Technologies, if the customer only submitted 1199, what would that look like on the invoice?
Okay, so the great thing here is the flexibility that you've got within Salesforce. So the system would be able to read that payment. It would acknowledge the invoice that it's for, but what it would do is it would allocate the $1,000, leaving the payment status as partially paid. You would then have a balance on your invoice of $200. So the invoice would be, there would be a $200 outstanding balance on the invoice, and it will be marked as partially paid. When we come into chasing and doing collections, it would be that balance that we would then be chasing from the customer.
All right, thank you for that.
So just going back now to my report that I showed you at the beginning. So we can see the invoices that we were looking at originally. We can see the balance has now been reduced to 0, and all of the payments have come in. So we have a payment against each invoice, which equates to $6,000. Now, I think you'll all agree with me that by utilizing Salesforce and the power of payments on the Salesforce platform, this has taken so much heavy lifting away from me, Emily, as a credit controller. I'm not having to go trawl through loads of bank statements, create a payment in my source system, and allocate that payment. So literally, my time can now be spent on looking at my important customers, focusing in on my dunning activities. So from that, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come back to the dashboard section, and I'm going to look at this collections dashboard by controller. Okay, at the moment, this is on me, so it's filtered on my name, but because I'm the senior credit controller, I may want to see all of the credit controllers in the department. So I can just click on all, and what this does, it refreshes the dashboard so I can see everybody within my department, and I've got an overview on everything that is outstanding. So I can see my age debt, and my age debt broken out into these buckets, broken out by these controllers. I can also see a collections overview by account. So I know that I've got 41 accounts in collections. And what I mean by in collections is the accounts have gone overdue. So there is some kind of activity going on in the background to help us speed up collection of those accounts. What I'm just going to do is come back to myself, Emily, just so I can focus in on my accounts. So I know that I've got $227,000 worth of invoices that need collections. And by utilizing this dashboard here, so here's my invoices by collection agent, I can actually go into, I can drill into these reports. I'm going to drill into this one at the moment, the one on credit hold, because I know I've got a couple of activities outstanding on one of these accounts, and I think it'll be great to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So this account has been put onto credit hold. The reason being is I have multiple invoices outstanding, and they go back quite a way. As you can see on my right hand side, there is a number of tasks that have been completed. So as we've gone through, the account's gone into collections, and it's given me a number of different tasks to do. So the first thing that happened was an email went out to the account to let them know it was past due. We then called the billing contact. We then placed another call on the contact. So we've got a number of different things going on, activities going on within the account. But today's task, actually it was yesterday now, so I'm a little bit late. Today's task is going to be, I need to send them now to the collections agency because I can see on my notes the customer wasn't contactable. I tried to contact them by phone. I can then see on the 18th of the 3rd that I sent an email requesting payment before it's going to the debt collection agency. So what I'm going to do today, I'm now going to put this into, I'm going to send it, I'm going to close it. And the reason I'm going to close it is because I'm going to send it to the debt collection agency. And I'm going to hit save and mark this as being done. Now, in the background, there's automation going on to generate the file and send that off to my collections agency. So it's really simple for me to be able to work through my dashboards to see exactly what accounts are in what state, exactly what invoices overdue, and exactly what tasks I've got coming up for me today. Okay, I'm just going to switch to another dashboard, which is going to give me an overview on my billing and my invoicing. So again, because we've got all of the data directly within Salesforce, I can start to run these dashboards, which really do give me some important information. So this is just an example one from my billing operations. So I can see the number of invoices created over the last fiscal quarter. So we can see the number of invoices has been increasing. Let's give this a quick refresh because I don't think it was. Here we go. Yeah, quick refresh. So we can see the value of the invoices over the month. That's increasing as well. If we scroll down slightly, we can see that we have a cash target to hit this quarter, and the cash target is going to be 60 million. Now, we are just shy at the moment. We're 43 million. We don't have that many days left in the month. So this is where I'm going to really start giving my credit controllers some stick to start getting the money in. I can see what we've collected so far is 43 million. The cash due is 16 million. And I can see we've got 1.2 million dollars worth of payments that are held up. Scrolling down slightly, I can see my invoice aging, but I've also got my age debt report. So I think from a credit controller's perspective, kind of shifting that touch point, the customer touch point and the AR functionality within Salesforce really does automate a lot of my tasks. So I'm not having to spend multiple hours doing allocations and doing bank reconciliations. I'm not having to spend hours doing my manual dunning processes. What I'd like to do now, we've got probably another 5 minutes left over of the demo. What I'd like to do now is switch over to Luca. Luca is the Chief Financial Officer, so the CFO at PhiX Technologies. And Luca has a keen eye on everything of the business. So what Luca is interested in seeing is a performance dashboard. So here are Luca's dashboards. So what he's seeing at the moment is cash in so far for the quarter is 42.5 million. And we know that we've got a forecast of 16 million to come in. We've got, if I go down further, we're looking at my customer base ARR. So I'm looking at the ARR, how the ARR is increased over the last fiscal quarter. So I can see I started off at 302 million ARR in January. We've increased that to 316 in February, and March we're up to 329. And how that's broken out is I have increased my customer count. So starting off in January, I had 2,524 customers. That increased to 2,541, and finish up in March. And remember, we still have a few days of March left. We're currently standing at 255. What I can also do, I can scroll down a little bit further and I can look at the number of new logos that I've won this quarter. So I can see I've won 32, 23, and 16. On the flip side of that, what is important to me, it's not just my new logos. I want to understand my churn. So obviously there has been some churn. We've got 4 that were churned in January, 6 in February, and 2 in March. Now, because this is a dashboard with some really rich data, what I can actually do is drill down further into the reports and understand exactly why these customers have churned. But what I want to focus on is how has that increased my ARR? So the new ARR from the quarter, I've had 32 million in January, 19 in February, and 15 to date so far in March. And the churn, it's not great, but it's not terrible. So we've churned just over 13.4 million. Also, I can now look at my invoices. So I want to understand the evolution of my invoices. So I can see the values of invoices that I've generated in the past 3 months. And I can also see the number of invoices that are going up. Okay, so with that, that brings me to the end of my demo. And I think let me just go back into my slideshow here. I hope you'll agree that kind of moving that functionality into Salesforce, you can really see how that benefits me within my day job. It can also help with, like I say, PhiX Technologies was struggling in the back office. Now, if they didn't implement a Salesforce billing and utilize payments, what they would have been doing is shedding out on more headcount. I would have needed more people in my department to keep the wheels turning, which is not a great thing. You want to be adding people heads in kind of sales and development rather than kind of back office heads that don't add to any of your revenue. So the conclusions for today, I think you've seen how processes can be automated, which really does help. You've got the flexibility, not only from the payments, but you've got the flexibility from the Salesforce platform. So we've got automation. We have a standardized approach as well. So moving the invoicing into the Salesforce platform, I'm actually moving into a more unified way of interacting with my customers. So my MSA will look similar to my quote will look similar to my invoice, and you shouldn't get held up with any issues. I have worked somewhere in the past where our quotes didn't look anything like our contracts and our invoices didn't look anything like our quotes. And that led to so many queries on invoicing and really did hold up that cash collection. And then finally, the last piece on here is that kind of that real-time financial analysis. So as you can see, as I'm processing invoices through the platform, my reports are getting updated in real time. As I'm bringing in payments into the platform, all of my reports are real time. So my CFO can see everything at a touch of a button. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the demo. I'm aware that I've done a lot of talking. I'm aware that there may be a lot to take in. So I think it would be good if we now opened up the floor for the panelists. So that'd be Kevin, Bish, or myself for any questions that we may have.
Yeah, there was a couple, Justin, in the chat. I don't know if you can see those. If not, I can read them. First one is, I see that the invoice values are small. Would this solution also work for enterprise businesses?
Absolutely, yes. So there's no limit on exactly what you can do with Salesforce billing. So I think the invoice values that you saw when I was allocating a payment, they were the low invoice values, but we were actually generating invoices within that system, which were kind of in the millions. So you can go, it doesn't matter what system you've got. You can be high volume, low value, and Salesforce billing will work for you. Or you can be low volume and high value. It all works the same.
Yeah, and I can double down on that. I mean, we have the goal of the tool is not only to be flexible, but to also work with companies all shapes and sizes and in all different verticals. So we have companies that are, just starting out, 0 to 100 employees and getting off the ground that want to leverage this to set the architecture for success. We also have Fortune 100 companies running their entire business on Salesforce billing. You can see that reflected in some of the top industry reports as to where we fit within the, whether it be Gartner or Forrester, where we fit there. Since this is a solution really that can solve for unique needs for companies all shapes and sizes, for sure. The second question we had in the chat said the payment runs that were small number of invoices. If you had in the hundreds of daily payment runs, would this solution still work for my business or is this too complex for the solution?
Definitely not. So the reason I only choose a very small amount of invoices to do as part of the payment run is because we're in a demo mode. What would normally happen is these processes would be running at night or first thing in the morning, so that you're not sitting and waiting for all of your payment records to be created and your payment allocations to be done. However, what I wanted to do was give you a taste of actually seeing it in real life. So you could actually see the process of it working, the system behind the scenes, creating the payments and then doing the allocations. But we've implemented Salesforce billing and payments for a large bank, and they are running thousands and thousands of invoices and thousands of payments per month. And there is absolutely no issues with that at all. So the other thing is you can take multiple different payment methods. So you can do an ACH run, have that processing. The next thing you can work on is a direct debit run within the UK. After that process, you could do a SEPA run within Europe. You can do multiple things with it. So there's definitely nothing too complex for it.
So those are the questions in the chat. Any other questions regarding anything you saw today? Really, and then honestly, regarding anything else, right? The goal of the session today was to show you what else is out there and what Salesforce has to offer once you have sort of solved for your CPQ challenges. And so it can really be anything from really when the quote is generated all the way through to RevRec. And if there's any specific questions on what you saw today, we're happy to address those as well.
I guess, Kevin, they can send emails if they've got any other questions or any other comments.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Kevin, looks like I did a really good job explaining it.
Stumped them all.
Well
Awesome. Happy to give people probably much needed time back. As I mentioned in the onset of the call, we will be generating a recording for this. And so we'll definitely make sure we get that out to you so you can circulate it amongst your teams and feel free to share it. And like we said, you'll have our emails as well. Feel free to reach out to us with any specific questions, or, if you have any Salesforce related questions and want me to connect you with your Salesforce account executive so you can start to figure out unique to your business how this can potentially solve some of your challenges, I'm happy to be that liaison as well. Okay, so with that, everybody, we appreciate your time. PhiX team, thank you as always for being a great partner for us, and good luck with your quote to cash endeavors, and hopefully we can help you in the future.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye.